How are you going to make America healthier if the workers in America have things taken away from them that were making them healthier?
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Something like 2/3 of federal employees at the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health have been fired. The department used to have 1,200 workers. Approximately 900 of them were fired just last week. This is going to be a huge blow to working people across the country, and obviously a huge blow to the affected workers. To talk about that, we have Cathy Tinney-Zara, president of the American Federation of Government Employees, Local 3430 at the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health in West Virginia, and Anita Wolfe, a retiree from NIOSH, who are both here in their personal capacity and not representing their agency. Cathy and Anita, welcome to the program. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you
very much.
I really do appreciate it. It was kind of short notice. Had somebody wanting to reach out to you, and so I said, "Well, I had a guest. I had a guest that wasn't able to make it last minute, so I need a guest, and I've been wanting to talk about this anyway. So I figured, hey, let's get them on the program because this is a really, really important issue. So appreciate y'all being available last minute. They're not on the camera, and so we can just stay on me. And so, Cathy, can you explain to folks, because I haven't even been super familiar with NIOSH. I've heard it. I'm a union member. I read a lot about unions and labor stuff. And so I've heard it before, but I'm not super familiar with it. What is the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, and what kind of work do you do?
Well, actually, NIOSH is the only dedicated federal research investment for preventing work-related illnesses and injuries among the nation's more than 170 million workers. And it is distinct from the regulatory function of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, which is actually in the Department of Labor. So NIOSH employs the multidisciplinary staff of 400 people in Morgantown, West Virginia, and it's the second largest of 8 NIOSH locations. We also have sites in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Cincinnati, Ohio, Spokane, Washington, Denver, Colorado, Anchorage, Alaska, and Atlanta, Georgia. The Morgantown facility, which is the one that we represent, houses unique laboratory capabilities. We have inhalation research and engineering research. We provide services to worker. We conduct research that develops new knowledge and transfers research findings to cost-effective solutions that makes work safer, healthier, and more productive for workers, employers, and the nation. For employers, NIOSH assessments and solutions lead to these safer work environments, which can reduce the costs associated with workers' comp and lost productivity. So we're the workers' friends. We go in and we help. We study jobs and workers and work on making them healthier and happier and all the good things that we want our workers to be, hopefully. But it's really just the safety and health of the workers. But we have 4 main divisions in Morgantown. And do you want to hear about them at this point? Or?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we have the Division of Safety Research, which it researches and assesses focus on leading causes of workers' injuries, and such as falls in construction workers. It studies and develops interventions and conducts laboratory research on cutting-edge issues such as the human-robot interface in the workplace, which, as you know, is the future here and what we may all be dealing with. The Health Effects Laboratory Division, it conducts basic and applied laboratory research in immunology, allergy, and inflammation, particularly relevant to occupational diseases, and establishes new methods to identify and assess occupational exposures to chemical, physical, and biological hazards. And we have the National Personal Protective Technology Laboratory, which supports research and certification of advanced PPE to enhance the safety of our workers. So then lastly, and this is the division that Anita is very, very familiar with, and that's the Respiratory Health Division. And it administers services and conducts multidisciplinary research to identify work-related respiratory hazards, access workplace exposures, characterize health risks, and develop and disseminate effective interventions. So everything that you do on a daily basis, everything that you touch, everything, everywhere you go, a worker somewhere made that. And so we try to make the workplace and the workers safer and healthier. So Anita, if you...
Yeah. That is incredibly important work, obviously. And Anita, she said that you worked in your retiree, worked in the respiratory health division, and so obviously there's a lot of like a lot of work in coal mines and stuff. Has NIOSH been kind of involved in research about silica dust and stuff in the mines?
Yes, it has, and actually, the work that was done by my team when I was still working, and they're actually the only team that is still in the building. It's a team now of 10 that somehow didn't get caught up in the cut. We don't know if that was just an error or if they have been, as I say, saved because it is a mandated program. There are other mandated programs in NIOSH that did get cut. So we're not sure what's going on, but they're trying to keep things going in what is called the Coal Workers Health Surveillance Program. But yes, we found a lot of miners especially in Appalachia are getting very sick, and the rates are a lot higher than they used to be, and we're seeing a lot of disease in very young miners. And what we're told by MSHA is that a lot of the easy coal to mine has been mined, what was easy to get to. So they're going deeper, getting into the thin seam mining. And of course, to get to that, they're cutting through a lot of rock, and the rock has a lot of silica in it. So we suspect that silica is what is causing a lot of this.
And so what you're talking about specifically, you mentioned a rise in diseases. We're talking about black lung. There has been a significant increase in the rate of black lung among coal miners over the last 10 to 15 years. I don't know if you know off the top of your head, Anita. Do you know like what kind of increase? I remember it being significant, but I can't remember if it was significant like 20% or like 100% more. Do you remember how many more cases we are seeing of black lung now compared to when it was at the lowest?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact percentage, but I can tell you that currently today, in the Central Appalachian region, that currently 1 in 5 coal miners who have worked for 25 years or more in mining have black lung. 1 in 5. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
And yeah, and this is happening in miners as young as 39, 40 years old. If you look at if you go on YouTube and search for Faces of Black Lung, there's 2 videos that we put out. There's Faces of Black Lung 1 and Faces of Black Lung 2. The first one is 2 miners that are in their 60s. And we just visited them. They agreed to talk to us, and we just let the camera roll, and they told us what they did in the mines, what this disease has done to them. And the first gentleman in that video died before we even got the video produced. The second gentleman had a double lung transplant, but he died 4 months later. So both of those guys are gone. They were like 62. So then in Faces of Black Lung 2, we thought we needed to focus more on the younger miners. So we have 3 miners in there. One, I think they're 39, 40, and 42. And the first miner in there, the youngest one passed away, like I said, before the video was completed. The other 2 miners have both had lung transplants, and the last guy that talks in that video, which is very hard for him to even put 2 words together without having to stop and, heave for breath, had a double lung heart transplant, and he is doing very well right now. I talked to his doctor actually yesterday and said he's able to get out and walk around a little bit now and doing well. But now he's like 43 years old. That's just way, way, way too young.
So Kim Kelly is a friend of the show. I don't know if because she's been reporting pretty closely on the black lung stuff, and she wrote a big article for In These Times about it that I remember reading, and so I just looked it up. And this was written 2 years ago, which is crazy.
Okay.
And 2 years ago, she was saying that in Kentucky and West Virginia, black lung afflicts more than 1 in 8 coal miners who have been working underground for 20 to 24 years. And now you're saying that rate is now something more like 1 in 5. She said that a decade ago, back in 2013, the rate was 1 in 30. And so that's the kind of increase that we're talking about. And the work that y'all do was incredibly important in connecting this increase in the incidence of black lung to silica dust as the cause. Am I getting that right?
You're right. Yes. Basically, what we do is, or what I did and what we do, I was the team lead and the project manager for this project for over 20 years. And the program started out as part of the Coal Mine Safety and Health Act, signed into law by President Nixon. And that part of the program, we certify facilities all over the United States that do the x-rays for us. And we make sure they're good facilities. Then they send those x-rays to us to be processed. And those are looked at then by our statisticians, epidemiologists to, come up with the trends in mining and the ages of miners, what occupations are most, are most susceptible to getting black lung. Then in 2005, we were given enough money to procure our own mobile vehicle. And we took that around to areas that were kind of underserved by clinics or areas where we were seeing really high rates of disease, and sometimes right on the mine site. A lot of the mine operators welcome us and say, yes, we would love for you to come and set up, and others don't. Others say you're not bringing that truck on mine property. So when we got the mobile, it kind of doubled what we were able to look at, because we, in addition to the clinics, we had a whole nother mobile of our own that we could go out and do the x-rays and all. And then spirometry became a mandated part of the program as well. That came along with the new dust standards that were put into place. So the other thing too is MSHA uses Mine Safety and Health Administration, that is the regulatory agency for mines. They look at our data, and that's what's used to set their laws and regulations for their inspectors. And then now there's the new silica standard. But I know I'm supposed to talk about NIOSH, but MSHA took a pretty big hit too. And I'm just concerned that, along with miners not getting screened themselves, is going to really turn into a catastrophe.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Right. Yes, it's very concerning. The United Mine Workers of America just put out a statement talking about how all of these cuts to NIOSH, to MSHA, and including some of the tariffs, which is going to hurt our ability to export coal, a quarter of the coal that we produce in this country is exported. And so that, there's a lot of potential problems that the coal mining industry, including obviously coal miners themselves, are facing from all of these kind of disparate attacks on, different parts of the government. And so, I want to talk some more about what these cuts are going to do. But before that, I want to learn some more about some of the other work outside of the respiratory health division. Cathy, if you, what are some of the highlights from some of the other divisions at NIOSH that you think would help folks like understand the importance of NIOSH to working people in this country?
Sure. So first of all, let me describe how our different divisions all can fit into the Black Lung program also. So for example, we have a division that's regarded as the best in inhalation toxicology, and they study and research the effects of Black lung, and they do that by exposing animals, rats and mice, to these dusts. So in our inhalation chambers, they can do this because clearly you don't want to do an experiment on a human and say, come in and have your lungs exposed to these particulates. So we have that part of this whole wrapped up. It's all in one package, so to speak. So the labs in Morgantown, like Anita was talking about, RHD, go out and collect all of this information. And then we have the division that works on the inhalation. We have the National Personal Protective Technology Lab that looks at, gloves, helmets, suits, and all this harmonizes together to help protect the worker. And in most cases, industry really values the work we do. We've got a program called the HHE Health Hazard Evaluation Program, effects program, that any employer, or I believe it's 3 workers, if they think they have mold in their work facility, they can call us and we send investigators out to look at the situation. And often, they'll do a report that then gives recommendations on how some of this can be mitigated. And we don't come in with citations. We don't do any of that. We're there to assist the employer and the worker by making the worker more safe. We have the national, the firefighter fatality investigation team. If there's a fatality on a fire scene, we have investigators that go out and investigate that whole issue and all the circumstances. They then have an investigative report that then is published, and hopefully, the other fire departments and such review that, and hopefully you prevent other fatalities. We've got the firefighter cancer research registry that's in our Cincinnati site. Nita, can you think of, there's so many that it's hard to think and compose them all into,
No, I think that you're doing a great job, Cathy. I just want to make sure that I say that. It seemed like yesterday you were kind of nervous. I think you were doing a fantastic job, and I think that you're really communicating well. The value of this organization to working people, and I think also implicitly, right? I think that most people can kind of intuit that this is not this is incredibly socially valuable work to the community and to workers, but it is also work that is probably not going to be funded in the private industry, right? This kind of work is something that like you said, some employers, they want to know, and they want to, because there is genuinely a business case to making a safe workplace, but there are also a lot of employers that want to kind of sweep stuff under the rug and don't want to know what they're doing may be killing people. They would rather just not have to deal with it. And so this is the kind of stuff that is not likely to be funded in the private sector. And so it's so important that this does get done by the federal government. And this is the organization that we as an American people have stood up to do that. And so then, you know, I think that we've done a good job of kind of trying to share the importance of NIOSH to people. And so now I want to see how y'all are. How are you thinking about these cuts? I mean, this is 2/3 of the workforce, 900 of 1,200 people total. You said that, Cathy, that there were 400 folks in Morgantown. You know, I'm interested in how many people are affected in Morgantown, and what is this going to do to your ability to execute this incredibly socially important mission? And we can start with you, Cathy.
It's going to devastate it. I mean, it totally destroy it. I've received a notice that for the union that we would have 185 people rift. We have 185 bargaining unit employees. So when you have the 185, then you talk about all the administrative and management supervisors on top of that. We also have the Commission Corps. I don't know if you're familiar with Commission Corps. It's like the public health army of HHS, and they will not, I'm sure, be able to be in Morgantown. They will be transferred to other sites. We have contractors. The contractors, if we're not there, you know, collecting the specimens and such and doing the work, they're not going to be there. Overall, it's a total of 400 persons that will be impacted in this small Morgantown, West Virginia community. So there's a whole community aspect to it. The work itself will just disappear because there's no way there will be anyone to be able to do it. So, you know, lives will be lost. People will be less healthy, more injured. It's devastating.
Anita, how
Yeah.
are you reacting to this?
Well, the thing that I find troubling is in the letters that the group that everyone got saying they were essentially fired. And I'm reading verbatim. It says that this is being done in order to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the Department of Health and Human Services and to make America healthier. What? How are you going to make America healthier if the workers in America have things taken away from them that were making them healthier? And then they were told that their duties were unnecessary or virtually identical to duties being performed elsewhere. That's 100% wrong. The things that NIOSH do is not being done anywhere else in the United States or in the world for that matter. Even outside of the US, we have done a lot of collaboration with other countries as far as keeping their workers, you know, safe and healthy, and actually traveled at that country's expense. They would bring us to their country to advise them on how better to take care of their emerald miners and their copper miners, and
Right.
that's going to be lost as well. So, you know, it's the letter that they got was, to me, if I had been still there and got that, not only is it sad, I would have been insulted, totally insulted at the work I had done.
That is, I just don't. I mean, I don't know what to say. That's so. I mean, so gross.
Yeah.
And so, Cathy, you know, obviously this is incredibly problematic. People, like you said, people are probably going to die from this. And you know, the idea about making America healthy while firing the people who are responsible for investigating the health of people on the job and what is healthy and what's not. If y'all had not been here, we could still be scratching our heads at why a decade ago only 1 in 30 miners who had been in the mines for 20 to 24 years had black lung, and now it's 1 in 5. We could still not know why that was happening, but we do with
Yes.
a very, very high degree of certainty because of NIOSH. And if you aren't here for the next time that we have something like that happen, I mean, it's just going to be, we're not going to know how to fight it. Now we're still not fighting it like we should be. I mean, the new silica rule, I think it's been implemented, but, the Trump administration has been talking about rolling it back. And so we're still not fighting it with the level of rigor that we should be, but we at least know what needs to be done. And for the next time, we're not going to know what needs to be done. And so, this is very problematic. Cathy, how, you're the president of the local union there. How are y'all reacting to this as a union, locally and nationally?
We're just trying to get the word out. We right now it seems to be really easy to have this no-faced federal employees that are the reason that the nation is in debt. And if we just get rid of a bunch of them, and what we're trying to do is say, no, we're your neighbor. You know me. I'm going to work every day. I'm working for making workers safer. And we talk a lot about the coal team, but it's also maybe the construction worker that's grinding on a material of some sort, that then those particulates are in the air. So what safety PPE do they wear? What are some of the other limitations of making sure they're working safely in a safe environment do they need? And if it's not looked at, no one knows. So those workers will continue working without even knowing what they're possibly in danger of. Another thing that's maybe people have heard about recently are these forever chemicals. And we've started some research on that. And I think that's going to be a huge effort, would have been in the future if we were allowed to continue, because all of this is something that needs to be researched, or I just find it so devastating. I'm without words most of the time because it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
and the forever chemical stuff is, and that is something that I have heard. I haven't heard RFK specifically talk about that, but I hear the RFK types talking about forever chemicals, the crunchy kind of like, holistic kind of folks who are now like big Trump supporters, and, like whatever, right? All power to you if you want to support who you want to support. But this is crazy, right? I mean, we're talking about these forever chemicals that it's just like pumping our bodies full of plastics. And here we have an organization that was about to embark on a huge, study of this and the effects that it's doing to people, which I'm of the mind that it's super bad. It seems to me that it's really bad, and we need more research on it, and we need to figure out what we can do to stop it. And we're hindering our ability to do that. I'm sorry, Anita, you were about to say something.
Jacob. Yeah, just to put this in perspective, I just want to give you a statistic that that I don't know if you know about. NIOSH's budget only comes out to about $2.20 per worker annually, $338 million. So while occupational injuries and illnesses cost the U.S. about $250 billion a year. So even small improvements in workplace safety and health can generate substantial savings for healthcare costs, workers' compensation, loss in productivity. And I go back even to the coal team, and with our budget that we operated on, which was a very small budget, it was coming out to like $3 per miner of government money that was being spent on them. So don't tell me that cutting this is going to save you all that much money, when if you're not studied, it's going to cost $250 billion if these people get sick. it's ludicrous. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. $2 per worker per year is what
Yep.
we're talking
$2
about
and
here.
20 cents.
And 20 cents. Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that. I don't want to be spreading misinformation on my program. So thank you.
And Jacob,
Yeah, go
I
ahead,
think
Cathy.
you can hear from both of us that we're passionate about this.
Yeah.
People do not get into public health work unless you care and you want to make a difference.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you're not getting rich off of this.
Oh, no.
Right? I mean,
Oh, no.
I mean, I don't know.
No.
Do you mind sharing what your GS level is?
I can tell you that for the coal team.
Okay. What is it?
Which is very interesting, because that program, the program that goes out and does all of that for the coal miners, is ran pretty much with a staff of 11 people. 11 people do both the in-office work and the mobile work. And we have 2 commissioned officers in the U.S. Public Health Service, and we have 6 other people that are a grade GS7.
Oh my God.
And 2 contractors that do data entry for us. That's yeah. So I'll tell you, the budget for the coal team, or the coal program, in 24 was $466,000. The contractors, and because we have to contract with our B readers or with physicians to read and interpret these films for us. They're not NIOSH employees. The contractors accounted for $275,000, and the rest of the program operated on $191,000 per year, $3 per coal miner. So you're right.
Wow.
These people aren't getting rich.
And you could, and especially with your specialized experience, you couldn't get paid to do the work that you're doing in the private sector, but you could probably find a private sector job to get paid. I mean, maybe, I don't know. What are the prospects for people that used to work at NIOSH that are not going to have this as an option? Potentially, I mean, Lord willing, we can stop this and we can get these people back on the job, and that's what we're all hoping for. But if that doesn't happen, what are the employment prospects for folks like this? Like, what other kind of jobs exist out there? And am I correct in assuming that they could probably get some sort of better paying job in the private sector just working for the other team, frankly?
Yeah, probably most of them could. It's crazy, because the people that worked at NIOSH and are commissioned officers and all, they are very specialized, and so some of them are really worried about finding another job where their expertise and all the years that they've spent in public health would be valued or would even count. For instance, I just want to tell you a quick story. There's a CO who is now, I'm not going to say which facility, but she is the only person in her building. Okay. And the way the COs have to go through this firing, as I call it, is different than the GS employees, in that they have a place where they can go and look and see what commissioned officer positions are open around the nation, and then they can apply for them. But most of those are doctors and nurses and like that. So the ones that are specialized as epidemiologists and all don't really have a lot to bid on. If they haven't been vetted already, like if they haven't had enough time in the commission corps, they lose everything. They lose their retirement. And so a lot of these people in their 40s, it's like they're going to be just starting their career if they have to start over. But this particular person, too, being the only person in the building, at the last day that the employees were there, the janitor came to her and said, I'm going to have to come with me. I'm going to have to show you how to start the boiler in this building, because there's not going to be anybody here to do it. And my guess is that before very long, the electricity and heat and everything in this building will be shut down, because there's nobody here to even pay the bills. Now, is that the way to treat any employee? You're going to be sitting here in a building with no heat and no electricity, or it's just not the way to treat workers or people. And that's probably my biggest beef with the whole thing. It was just all federal employees were lumped into this category of you're lazy, you don't do anything, when I would venture to say that if I were to ask the people that were behind this, tell me what NIOSH does, they wouldn't even be able to put a sentence together about what we do. And that's what upsets me the most.
Yeah. It's very disheartening, and I don't think that people voted for this. I don't think this is what people wanted to see. I think the work that y'all do is really important, and I think that most Americans could recognize that. So Cathy Tinney-Zara, Anita Wolfe, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Y'all have been great guests. Is there anything else that you wanted to say before we let you go?
For me, it's just to the public out there, get the word out, call your senators, call your congressmen, and just tell them, that you need NIOSH, and that you understand now how much you do need NIOSH, even though you didn't know it before. Cathy?
Yeah, yeah, we're all still just devastated. I'm sorry. It's been, we've been trying to get the word out and just let people know, what we do and how important it is to them. It's not just any one of us. It affects everybody. And so, just the more we can get the word out so that people know what is at stake with this process. Thank you so much, Jacob.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. So there you go. That was Cathy Tinney-Zara, president of the American Federation of Government Employees, Local 3430 at the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health in Morgantown, West Virginia, and Anita Wolfe, a retiree from the same. Just to let y'all know, I've been a federal employee for a long time. Folks, a GS-7 in that specialized environment is crazy. The starting pay for a GS-7 is $55,000 a year in Morgantown. The top pay after the step 10, which step 10, GS-7 step 10, would take you like 20 years or something ludicrous to get to, okay? So, but if you did get to a step 10, that would be $72,000. That is not a lot of money for the kind of work that they were doing. I mean, that's crazy.
Are we still on the air, Jacob?
Oh, yes, you are. I thought, yes, you are still.
I just had someone from NIOSH who is listening in, and it's an engineer from NIOSH that just sent me a text and said, let him know that some of the engineers were offered jobs the day after they were fired, and the starting salary was double what they were making at NIOSH. But they're waiting to see if they'll get called back.
There were engineers at a GS-7?
No, not at a GS-7.
Okay.
No, they were a higher grade, but still, when private sector offered them jobs and found out they'd been riffed, it was double what they were making at NIOSH. But these people are still waiting to see if they're going to get called back because they believe so much in what they were doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so, that's so gross. I mean, I was a GS-12 as a project manager at the Corps of Engineers. We had engineers who were GS-13s. But we were in the Department of Defense, and so so there's more money even for the Department of Defense. But even as working in the Department of Defense, I knew project managers who worked in the private sector who made twice as much money as I did. And I've talked to NLRB attorneys, people who are barred attorneys, right? As a GS like 13, 14, and I know people that were fired from the NLRB that got offers from management side law firms, literally the next week, again, making double what they were making in the government.
Sorry, Jacob.
So
Anita was talking about the coal team and that being their salary. Yeah, we have a lot of other areas have a lot of the postdocs, PhD plus, and those are definitely higher graded employees. But at the same time, they believe in what they're doing, and that's why they are here.
Exactly. Yeah. I really appreciate that, and appreciate that you happen to stay on and were able to tell me that from that engineer, because that really illustrates like the problem with what's going on here.
Right.
These people want to serve the American people, and they are willing to take a 50% pay cut to serve you. And RFK Jr. wants to stop that. He doesn't want to allow people to take a 50% pay cut to serve you. It's just so frustrating. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.
Which side are you on?